Caked in mud, shivering in the cold, she was less than a shadow, mocked, ignored, and left to rot. No one wanted to touch her. No name, no worth, nothing to offer. Until one human knelt beside her. He didn't flinch. Didn't turn away. He wrapped her in his coat, lifted her gently, and whispered, "You don't deserve this." From that moment, everything changed. A bath, a name, a home, and maybe, something even deeper. The mud clung to her like a second skin, thick, bitter, and suffocating. Her once bright fur was matted in clumps, saturated with filth and the sour stench of fear. Every step she took left half a footprint, the other half swallowed by the sludge. She had collapsed in more times than she could count. Her name, long stripped from her by slavers, meant nothing now. No one asked for it. No one cared. Her chains had been broken days ago, more by accident than mercy, when the transport ship had skidded and ruptured across the cratered edge of the merchant world Trendifor. In the chaos, the slavers died. Some slaves ran. She had crawled. Others were fast, healthy, sharp-eyed. She had been sick. Starved. Forgotten. And so when she stumbled into the edge of the mining colony outside District 7, she was no longer a person. Just a creature with no name, covered in filth, ribs sharp through her skin, eyes hollow with hunger. People saw her, but turned away. Some muttered in disgust. Others laughed cruelly. "Filthy beast," they said, "a swamp thing, don't touch her, she'll smear." None offered help. None offered clothes. Just stares. Some even tossed scraps, not to feed her, but to see if she'd grovel for them. And she did. At first. But eventually, her pride refused even that. She curled near the vent shafts where the steam was warmest, praying the night would end before the cold took her for good. On the fourth night, it rained again. Not soft, gentle rain, but hard, slicing sheets that turned the mud to slush and sucked the heat from her skin. She no longer whimpered. No longer moved. Her limbs were too heavy, her thoughts too slow. She would die there, alone, nameless, nothing. And no one would notice. Until boots splashed beside her. She barely heard them over the rain. Just a dull stomp. Then stillness. Silence. She forced one eye open. What stood above her wasn't a guard, or a merchant, or a scavenger. It was a man. A Terran. Middle-aged. Scarred. Dressed in utility armor, shoulders soaked, jaw clenched. He knelt. She flinched. She expected pain. Expected a shove. Expected another voice calling her trash. But his hand, warm, solid, touched her cheek gently, then pulled back to examine the mud. His brows furrowed. He muttered something, softly. Then, he shrugged off his coat. It was old. Faded. But thick and warm. He wrapped it around her. She stared, breath-catching. He said, "Can you move?" She couldn't answer. Her tongue barely worked. But she blinked, once. He nodded. Then, without asking permission, he lifted her into his arms. She didn't fight. Couldn't. The coat swallowed her thin body. His grip was firm but careful. He carried her like something breakable. She didn't understand. No one had ever touched her like that. He brought her to a small shelter, a side unit of the larger supply station, half forgotten, half functional. It smelled of metal and oil, but it was warm. Dry. He laid her on a cot and stripped the mud from her fur with a clean towel, wetting it with steam-warmed water from the back valve. He didn't speak much, just focused. Cleaned gently. Checked her feet. Fed her small sips of something hot, rich broth from a flask. It burned going down, but she didn't stop drinking. When her limbs stopped shaking, he finally sat beside her. "You're safe," he said. "No one's going to hurt you now." She stared. Her mouth formed a shape, no voice yet, but he seemed to understand. "Name?" he asked. She lowered her eyes. Then shook her head. He tilted his head. "No name." She shook again. His lips tightened. "Then we'll change that." The next morning, he brought her clean clothes, human clothes, slightly oversized. But warm. She dressed slowly. He turned his back, giving her privacy. She expected him to leer. He didn't. When she was dressed, he smiled faintly. "Looks better on you than it ever did on me." She blushed, deeply. He offered a hand. "I'm Mason." She opened her mouth. A whisper came, rough, cracked. "Ma." He leaned closer. She tried again. "Molly." It wasn't her birth name. But it was hers now. A gift to herself. He nodded. "Molly. Welcome back to the world." Days passed. Molly grew stronger. She started helping around the shelter, sweeping, organizing tools, cooking with Mason's guidance. He watched her with a quiet kind of pride, never demanding, never pushing. He offered structure, but no chains. A difference that made her heart clench more than any lock ever had. Other workers in the area began to take notice. They asked questions. Mason always answered the same. "She's with me." Some sneered. Others raised eyebrows. But no one challenged him. One evening, she caught her reflection in the surface of a solar panel. She flinched, then stared. Her fur was clean now. Trimmed. Her eyes, once lifeless, were clearer. Her body still bore scars, but they no longer defined her. She turned to Mason. He was welding a broken brace, focused. Strong. She approached him slowly. "Why?" she asked softly. He looked up. "Why what? Why help me?" Mason wiped his hands. "Because I've seen what happens when people look away. I won't be one of them." She sat beside him. "Even though I was worthless?" He met her gaze, serious now. "You were never worthless. You were hurt. That's not the same." Her throat tightened. She looked away, tears threatening. "Thank you." Mason placed a gentle hand over hers. "You don't owe me thanks. Just live. That's enough." Their bond grew slowly, like roots under frost. Quiet. Steady. Strong. Molly laughed more now. Smiled. She read human books Mason shared with her. Learned their history. Their songs. He cooked dishes from his homeland, rich with spice, and told her stories of forests, oceans, winds she'd never known. She told him stories too. Of her clan, long gone. Of her dreams, once buried. He listened. Always. Weeks passed. Molly began to sleep without nightmares. She stopped flinching when someone walked too close. One night, during a fierce storm, the power flickered out. She panicked, memories flooding in. Mason found her crouched in a corner, trembling. He didn't say anything, just sat beside her. Wrapped his arms around her. Held her until the light returned. She cried then, not from fear, but from release. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was healing. And then, without warning, the past returned. A patrol entered the district, searching for escapees from the slaver wreck. One of them, a tall, sharp-eyed woman, spotted Molly as she walked back from the supply depot. Recognition flashed. "That one," she snarled. She was marked. Mason stepped in front of Molly. "She's free." "She's property," the officer hissed. "You're harboring a fugitive." Mason didn't flinch. "She's under my protection. If you want her, you'll have to go through me." Tension crackled. But the officer hesitated. Mason's record was known. Decorated. Respected. She couldn't move against him without cause. She snarled, then turned away. This isn't over. But for that night, it was. Molly collapsed into Mason's arms. "I thought they'd take me." He held her tightly. "Not while I breathe." The next day, he filed the paperwork, adoption under Terran law. Controversial. Complicated. But he didn't care. He named her. Protected her. Made her part of his life. His words were simple. "You don't need to run anymore. You belong here with me." She cried again. But this time, it wasn't grief. It was joy. Valira no longer counted the days, because she no longer feared them. Morning didn't bring dread now, it brought porridge, warm tea, the sound of birds outside Donovan's shelter, and something deeper she couldn't name. Her body had grown stronger, her voice steadier, her eyes brighter. The mud that once hid her had been washed away, by soap and water, yes, but also by something gentler. A kind of healing that came only from being seen, not as a creature, not as a burden, but as a person. Donovan's outpost was temporary. It had to be. The human relief convoy wasn't a permanent operation, its supply schedule was finite. But he wasn't in a hurry to leave her behind. "We've got time," he'd said more than once. And each time, Valira's chest warmed at the thought. Some days they walked together. Just outside the checkpoint. Never far. But far enough that she felt the wind again. She'd point out small creatures nesting in the brush, or flowers trying to grow through ash-black soil. Donovan listened, smiling quietly. Other days, she taught him words from her native Thren dialect, sounded broken in his human mouth, but he tried. He taught her too. Human phrases, idioms, little jokes. He told her how to brew coffee, how it made his hands steady again after the war. "It's bitter," he warned.
She sipped anyway. Made a face.
Laughed, a sharp, sudden sound she hadn't known still lived in her.
It startled her. Him too.
But they didn't say anything.
It was enough.
The checkpoint changed in whispers. First, the guards stopped glaring at her. Then they nodded respectfully, thanks to Donovan's presence. A few even asked her name.
She didn't give it at first. But later, she did. It felt strange. Powerful. She was Valira again.
Then came the supply rations cut.
Not enough to go around.
The command post started denying aid to any refugees without documentation. Security reasons. It didn't matter that she had no home, no ID. She was back to being unofficial.
Disposable. Donovan didn't accept it.
They want you out, he said, grim-faced. But I'm not leaving you. She looked at him, hope mingled with dread. I've got a farmstead, north side of New Andrus.
Quiet. Good soil. Room to breathe. She blinked.
You're taking me?
He nodded.
I'm offering you a place.
You can stay. Leave any time. No expectations.
But if you want a real start, he looked away for a moment, then added quietly, it's yours.
She didn't speak. She just stepped forward and hugged him.
The first time she initiated touch. His arms closed around her gently.
Then I want to go, she whispered. The journey took 2 days.
Donovan drove an old skimmer truck through winding dirt roads and fire-scarred hills. They passed wreckage, remnants of a war long done.
He didn't flinch. She didn't ask.
They reached his home just as dusk painted the sky in violet and gold. It wasn't much, a modest homestead, 2 domes, solar rigging, a garden plot with stubborn green shoots reaching through the soil.
But to her, it was a palace.
Inside, everything smelled of herbs and dust and warm wood.
A real bed. A window that opened. Books. A kitchen.
He showed her where everything was.
Then paused.
The second room's yours.
No locks. No rules.
You choose how you want to live here.
That first night, she couldn't sleep. Not from fear, but awe.
The bed didn't sag.
The air smelled clean.
She lay on her back, staring up at a ceiling that didn't leak, that didn't tremble with distant gunfire. For the first time in her memory, she didn't feel like prey. She settled into the rhythm. Donovan rose early, tending to the soil, the solar rig, the water lines.
She joined him.
First out of gratitude, then because she wanted to.
She learned to plant, to prune, to solder.
Her fingers grew calloused. Her voice came easier.
Her laugh, frequent. At night they talked.
He told her about Earth, about oceans she'd never seen, about snow, about cities so tall they scraped the clouds.
She listened, wide-eyed.
She told him about Thren songs, about festivals, about the silver trees that used to glow during the winter moons. He said one day, they'd find them together.
Weeks passed.
Then a small transport arrived, an old friend of Donovan's. Brought supplies, updates from the cities. News of amnesty programs, identity restoration. She's not a fugitive, Donovan said flatly, when the man hinted. She's a survivor. They sat together that night on the porch, watching the twin moons rise. Valira leaned against the doorframe.
Why me? She asked again.
Donovan didn't answer at first. Then, because I saw someone who'd given up on hope. And I'd been that person once. She stepped forward, kneeling in front of him. You gave me more than hope, she whispered. You gave me myself again. Donovan reached out, his fingers brushing her cheek.
Slowly, tenderly. She didn't flinch. She closed her eyes. The kiss was soft, brief, but not uncertain. When they parted, she smiled. You didn't ask for anything, she said. But I want to give you something. If you'll take it. I'll take whatever you want to give, he said. That night, she didn't return to her room. She stayed in his arms. It wasn't about lust, it was about warmth. Healing. Connection. She hadn't been touched with kindness in so long, she forgot what safety felt like. Now, she remembered. Life settled into something new. Shared. She cooked. He repaired. She sang again, low, lilting notes while planting seedlings. He stood nearby, letting the sound fill the space between them. She teased him when he forgot to label spice jars. He built her a trellis for her favorite vine flowers. They weren't lovers every night, but they were partners in every way that mattered. Then came the storm. A flash flood swept through the lower valley, neighboring farms vanished overnight. Donovan's shelter held, but the road was washed out. For 2 days, they were cut off.
Valira didn't panic.
Not anymore.
She secured the solar lines herself, reinforced the perimeter while Donovan repaired the broken water system.
They worked as one.
Later, as they huddled by the lanterns, she looked at him. "You said one day we'd go find the silver trees," she murmured.
He nodded.
"When we're ready."
She smiled.
"I think I'm ready."
So they planned. Travel permits. Safe zones. Relay points.
A slow path, but one they could walk together. And in the meantime, she began writing.
Songs. Letters. Testimonies.
She sent them to aid groups. To refugee coalitions.
She used her name. She didn't hide anymore.
One day, a young Thren girl arrived, trembling, half-starved.
Valira took her in, washed her, fed her. Told her, "You matter.
You're not alone." The girl cried into her lap.
Donovan watched, proud.
"You're doing what she did for you," he said.
"She?" Valira asked. He nodded.
"You. The woman who saved me."